If you're not entertaining on social media, you will not gain attention, period. CEOs who are not entertaining are toast. And I love it because they're not adopting and I'm eating their lunch.
You've built this huge millions, multi-million dollar company, probably well over close to billion right now, right?
Yeah, we do about 500 million a month. So.
Jesus Christ.
You know, when I was an actor, when I was really young, I always faced rejection. I always got turned down, and that taught me to be humble. People look at like as some major success story. I just want to be like another guy in the streets. The reality is I'm just a servant. I just want to be everybody's servant. I want to be there to help them, and I want to be there to serve them in any capacity I can. And that's one cool thing that the content allows me to do.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the podcast. You already know we bring you some of the best, most talented people. And today we're going to talk to someone who knows the real estate space, the mortgage space. And also he's putting out some really, really cool content on social media. And make sure you're following him if you haven't already come across his content. The one and only Joseph Shalaby is on the call today. How's it going, bro?
Let's go. Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Listen, man, I first and foremost, I'm a fan of your work and what you've been doing on social media. We'll get into all the cool stuff and how you're making yourself stand out. But I got to ask you, right? You've built this huge millions, multi-million dollar company, probably well over close to billion right now, right? So I want to talk about this.
We do about 500 million a month. So.
Jesus Christ. All right, so let's talk about this, right? You're going viral on social media. But what's the real story like behind your content shift? Like what do you feel like you're trying to prove with what you're putting out there now?
So here's my content strategy. I treat my show, my channels like a television show. So I've been going around on stages and talking about this. So my Instagram channel generates about 15 to 20 million views a month, and my stories average about 10 to 15,000 story views. So the way it works for me is I drive tons of traffic to my content, and my content is all entertainment. So if you think about television, you watch, we're going to be talking about television in the past tense soon, but the way television runs is people watch TV to be entertained, and then they get served ads. So what happens is, for me, is you come to my channel, you're laughing, you're seeing me do these antics, and you're entertained. And then you click on my story, and then I'm serving you something boring, mortgage related. It's not boring, but it's like, I just told my team, like, hey, make sure to drop the story about what the Fed did today, and holding interest rates steady, and what the Fed's going to do, and make sure to market my book, and yada yada. So it's all the stuff that's not entertaining, not like my normal content. My normal content's like, do you follow content, or feeding folks tarantulas on the street for money?
Or Beatles.
Huh?
Or Beatles.
Yeah, or Beatles, or something crazy. I have a lot of fun with it. I get to walk up to beautiful girls and tell them, for $50, would you eat this beetle? And they do it. It's a dehydrated beetle, but it's edible. But it's a lot of fun, and I have a lot of fun with it. I get to meet a lot of cool people, and and I drive millions and millions of impressions every single day to my pages. So that's the idea. It's like from there, I'm growing at about 5,000 to 10,000 followers a day right now. Now that I'm consistent with the strategy, I toyed around with the idea of, add some financial content, but when I made the decision mentally to pivot to just entertainment solely, which is about 60 days ago on my channel, my viewership increased and my follow counts have been skyrocketing, and I've just been consistent. So this is going to be my strategy moving forward. Is this my page is purely entertainment based. That's it. There's nothing else outside of that. And then I'll throw in maybe a tiny bit of thought leadership that's blended with entertainment, but it's going to be, if you follow Joseph Shalaby, I promise you will be entertained. You will like the content. You will, you'll laugh. You'll think it's great content. You'll continue to watch it, and that's going to be the basis of my content. If you watch my stories, you will be edified. So I have three faces of
Mm.
Joseph Shalaby. I got the entertainer Joe, which is my passion. I was an actor as a youth, so I got to tap into that. I got my thought leadership Joe, which is my podcast and my book, etc. And then I have just Joe, the CEO. So then it's like, so there's three different facets of what I'm doing, and I try to play into all three of them with various strategies. So, my LinkedIn is all Joseph Shalaby, the CEO, and my stories are related to my CEO stuff. My podcast is obviously it's separate channels. So I try to play into all three and lean into all three in various verticals.
What's interesting about what you said, I spoke to so many different people. We've had so many amazing talent on the show and from various different fields. But man, I haven't heard anyone break it down like that. I think that's an excellent strategy in breaking it down
It's
from.
been a lot of trial and error, man. I'll tell you, I started to decline on my viewership. Actually, you even mentioned to me, you're like, Joe, I noticed your engagement isn't that high. And you know what it was
Yeah.
is I was just serving so much different content. I was going,
Hmm.
here's one entertainment piece, and then here's like a market update. Like the
Mm.
algorithm was confused, you know, and it really like I started just to try to figure out what the heck am I doing wrong. And I just realized like I just need to stay in my lane. I just need to entertain. And
Yeah.
now if you look at my viewership, it's like bam, hitting, hitting, hitting. Sometimes some videos won't go viral, but like, man, one out of every 20 pieces will go viral. Viral. I mean, my average viewership is 100,000, but one out of every 20 will get millions, and I'm like, this is cool.
Yeah, man, it's cool, but at the same time, guys, if you're listening to this, the entertainment is leading people to obviously what you're really known for, right? And what you do on a
Yeah.
day to day basis is how you've
I
grown to
mean, when
be.
you touch 20 million people a month, I mean, organically, that's going to happen.
100%. So I gotta ask you, like, what was your like now what moment? Like, so like when school ended or didn't work out the way you thought it would. Like, just take us back. Like, what was your now what moment? Like, this is what I want to do right now with my life.
I'm still answering that question every day, but I'm always on a quest for perpetual improvement. So
Mm.
once I started to dominate the charts, let's say on my podcast and on social media, then I'm like, I gotta brand even more. So then I'm like, now I gotta release my book. Now I got on the quest. Now I want to be a best-selling author. So I'm always just kind of trying to climb the ladder, and this relates to what I'm doing as a professional. Like I'm trying to dominate as the biggest mortgage company of all mortgage companies ever. So I'm right now we are in a declining market. Rates are high. People are cutting prices on their homes, and a lot of mortgage companies are going out of business. So guess what? Now what? Here's my opportunity to see blood on the streets and grab so many mortgage companies who need my help and grab and acquire hundreds of mortgage companies to help them not only stay afloat but thrive in a declining market
Mm.
utilizing our infrastructure, our ecosystem, our technology, marketing, data, and support. So we're seeing blood on the streets with the mortgage industry, and we're like, let's go all in, let's go all in on marketing, let's go all in on acquiring these companies, and we're helping a lot of people make big positions. So we're going to be poised for a really, really, really big 2026 because I mean we just brought on our biggest mortgage company ever, 100 people, 100-person mortgage shop. That's going to be the biggest to date of all companies we've acquired. We usually bring on like a 10-man shop or 15-man shop or 20-man shop, but now to see mid-sized mortgage companies saying, hey, it's time for us to partner with you, basically shows us that there's a massive consolidation in this industry. Same with social media. Now it's like, okay, I now have an opportunity to scale like crazy on social media. So
Mhm.
we're leveraging like trial reels. So trial reels is a great opportunity for us to post the same content over and over and grow exponentially
Mm.
without it impacting my actual posts. So we figured out a solution for us to grow like crazy on Instagram, so I can hit like the 2 million follower count that I want to hit by summertime,
Mm.
and continue to go viral on my main page. Now the only thing is, now what? Like I'm always trying to figure out now what. So I'm trying to dominate Snapchat. I'm like, I don't know. I was killing it on Snapchat. Whatever reason, I started dying on Snapchat. Trying to dominate YouTube, trying to dominate TikTok. There's always some new mountain to climb in the social media space and
Facts.
more eyeballs to attract. The only thing I'm really killing it on right now is Instagram. I'm getting a lot of viewership on YouTube, not growing a lot my subscriber count. Not I have a big count on TikTok. My viewership isn't working. So the game of social media for me is
Mhm.
like so big for
Yep.
me to continue to climb these various mountains, and it's such a cool game to play, to always strategize and meet with other people and figure out what content strategy is working. And it's kind of in my lane. I love to entertain. I love to be a person who really drives traffic and puts smiles on people's faces. So social media gives me that outlet while concurrently staying in my lane with growing our business, because I'm all about driving eyeballs to our organization.
Man, listen, I love this conversation because we're talking about brand, we're talking about content, we're talking about visibility, all those things that you're so focused on and what you're doing. I think also too, from my years of branding talent and working with so many different people, what stood out the most to me with you when we very first met was like, yo, you are like the type of person that you would see or have a conversation with, and you're like, oh, yo, what are we going to do next? Like, where are we headed to next? And I think that likability trait, that friend trait, is so key into branding so that you can, lead on to talk about what is it that you do. Now I'm so interested. I want to know, man, can you please sell me something? What's interesting also about this conversation is that like your Instagram has 1.3 million followers. If you're listening,
Yeah, we're
guys,
about to hit 1.4 to like in the next few days.
this is a crazy big number, right? Like your content is playful but purposeful. What do you think most CEOs still don't get about attention?
So I did a talk about this last week in New York, but what is going to be the continue to be the biggest trend right now is if a CEO, number one, isn't the face of their brand, and number two, isn't entertaining, they will not get attention. If they're still talking about their product, if they're still trying to sell, they're not going to sell. The biggest trend and the biggest need is CEOs must entertain, and if they don't want to entertain, guess what? They're just not going to get attention. Entertainment is the new commodity. Nobody's on social media to be sold. Nobody's on social media to be told what to do. And nobody's on social media to like be bored. Everyone wants to be entertained. And entertainment can be whatever it is. But if you're not entertaining on social media, you will not gain attention. Period.
That's
So
good.
CEOs who are not entertaining are toast. And I love it because they're not adopting and I'm eating their lunch. So my competitors who are in my space who are not comfortable doing what I'm doing, which I love it because nobody's comfortable doing what I'm doing. Nobody will do the things I do. I get to have their lunch. I get to entertain their people. Let's
Man,
do
I
it.
gotta ask you, man. Listen, you've been crushing on social media and with content, but there's also times where you put out content and people are probably like, "Yo, why did he do that?" Right? There's a post of you handing out $2,800 worth of JBL headsets in New York, just to get like no love at all. What was like the bigger lesson behind that moment that you think you learned?
Yeah, it wasn't just JBLs. We did JBLs. We did iPads. We did a bunch of Apple products. But the lesson that I learned is just like it keeps me humble. Like I love walking around and getting turned down and just like being grounded. Like I don't want to be this big mortgage CEO guy. I don't want to be this like guy that's like people look at like as some major success story. I just want to be the like another guy in the streets,
Mm,
another guy on in the streets of Times Square, in the streets of Newport Beach at the peninsula, like just like walking around, just like I want to always stay grounded. And one thing that the content allows me to do, because when I was an actor, when I was really young, I always faced rejection. I
mm,
always got turned down. And that taught me to be humble. I never want to let success stir me away. I always want to be as humble as possible. Christ was the most humble man ever walked this planet and the most powerful. So one thing that the content allows me to do is always stay grounded, always stay faithful, always remain like, hey, I'll never be too better than anybody. I'll never be too good. I will never be above anybody else. So these people turn me down. Like, they don't know that I'm some big mortgage CEO or some big podcaster or some, you know, big influential figure. They have no idea. You know, some people do, and the people that do know, they're like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe you're here. Can I get a photo with you?" You know, and that's cool. And that, but the reality is, I'm just a servant. I just want to be everybody's servant. I want to be there to help them, and I want to be there to serve them in any capacity I can. And that's one cool thing that the content allows me to do.
Man, that's good, man. I got to ask you real quick a couple things about real estate, the mortgage space, because someone is listening right now. They know who you are. They follow you from social media. They love the entertainment. But I got to ask you a couple quick things here. Homeowners tapped into about $25 billion in equity in Q1. For someone just like starting out, like, is real estate still the best path for wealth, or do you feel like it's changing?
I mean, it depends on where you're at in California, because some places in California are just unfeasible to buy, like in Newport Beach. But for the most part, I mean, they're pretty spot on with how much rents are in most places. Like, if you look nationwide, rents have skyrocketed nationwide. You know,
Facts.
so you're at 4 or 5 grand for a 2 bedroom apartment in many cities all over the US, all over Texas, you know. So you can still buy at the same price you would rent. So it still makes sense just to secure your wealth. And it's a fact that those who own, and I don't know the numbers, but those who own versus those who rent are like 30 times more wealthy than
Mm.
those who rent. So baseline wealth is real estate still, and will always be, because you need to have a place to live. You need to secure that location, and you want to have some sort of rent control. There's a lot of other, you know, things that come with home ownership. Like, the pride of home ownership is a real thing. If you go
Mm.
to a renter's house and you versus going to a homeowner's house, you're going to know that dude's a renter.
Fact.
He hasn't, you know, he's got wires sticking out of his television. He's, you know, you know, poorly placed photos. He's got, you know, dirty carpets. Like, that's a renter, right? You go to a
Facts.
homeowner's
Facts.
house, everything's going to be much more pristine, because there's pride of home ownership. You want
Mm.
everything to be at your level, at your taste. So there's a couple things that come with home ownership, not just baseline wealth, but there's going to be like that certainty of knowing you have a roof under your home, and that pride of making the home the way you want it to be, and
Man.
at the comfort you want. And, you know, like for me, you know, I have a nice home, but every one of my properties has an audio visual system. Like, I like to come home, press a button, the lights are on the way I want, the AC's on the way I want, you know, the game's on, everything's like click, like, boom. You think you're going to spend $30,000 on an audio visual system, or $100,000 on an audio visual system if you rent it? No, you're just gonna be like, I got a smart TV with the Netflix, you know, remote. So there's a lot of value in home ownership outside of just building your wealth, but it's mandatory. Now, should you diversify from real estate? Absolutely. Should you be buying crypto? Yeah, that's, you know, we just saw the Senate pass stable coin. You know, should you be buying various stocks? Yes. Diversification for your net worth and your portfolio is an absolute must. You got to do all the things, but you got to own your house. Like,
Man,
period.
man, this is good. This is good. You know, you've seen a lot of money hacks over the years. You've helped thousands unlock equity. What's one money hack you think most people just overlook, like when buying a home or when starting a business?
So one thing that I would recommend, especially to young buyers, if they're Gen Z, those who follow me, is like, house hacking is a real thing. Buy the house, rent out the rooms. You can hack your way to home ownership and break even. It's a great thing. It's a real thing, and it makes money. Also, what pencils? Airbnbs and multi-units still pencil pretty much everywhere outside of like Orange County, California, and Los
Mm.
Angeles. You could still buy a 4 unit and make a cash flow everywhere in the country. So, you know, multi units are still great investments. House hacking for those young millennials who can tolerate having roommates is still a real thing. You can hack your way towards home ownership, and break even or have cash flow. So, house hack and buy multi units.
All right, cool. Great. I love it. House hack, buy multi-units. Guys, if you listen to this podcast, you want to know more about Joseph, I'm pretty sure you already follow him on social media. Joseph, for the final question, I want to ask you what I've always asked everyone that's been on this platform. If you are walking across that stage or perhaps don't have a degree at all, asking yourself the question of the show, school's over, now what? What advice would Joseph give?
Do God's work. Serve God. He always does your work, period. As long as you're seeking to do God's work, he'll always provide a path for you. He'll always do your work. So first and foremost, everything starts with servitude. Be of service to others, do his work, and I promise you, he'll do your work. He'll carve out a path that makes sense for you.
Man, love it, man. Fire, man. For those that are listening, make sure you follow Joseph. Joseph, what do you have going on? How can we stay in touch? How can we make sure that we go beyond the entertainment and see what you have to offer online?
So obviously follow me, Joseph Shalaby, on all platforms, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram. But follow my podcast, Coffees for Closers, on anywhere you listen to your podcast. Coffees is spelled with a Z. You can find it if you just put it in anywhere. So you'll hear the awesome content that I produce with some of the most brilliant thought leaders, mentors of mine, people I aspire to be like. And then follow my company, eMortgage Capital, everywhere you see, everywhere on social media as well. So, and then buy my book, Rising from the Sand, an Amazon bestseller, Rising from the Sand. And on Amazon right now, it's live, and we'll have it on Audible soon.
Yeah, if you're listening to this, not only that, listen, Joseph, I want to give away 5 copies of that book. So, guys, if you're listening to this, drop a comment. If you're watching us on YouTube, we're going to give away 5 copies of this book. And for those of you who are listening, I want you to always remember, dream it, believe it, go out and get it. We'll see you next week.
Yo, what you think? I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I want to know what you learned. So if you wouldn't mind, would you take a screenshot of you listening to the podcast on your phone right now? Upload to your Instagram stories, tag me at Shawn Anthony _, and then let me know in that Instagram story what is one thing that you learned. I love hearing from you, my listeners, thought leaders, former or current students all around the world. Let me know, and while you're doing this, go inside the podcast app, subscribe, leave a 5-star review and a 5-star rating. Again, this helps us reach more people. And if you want to be a part of this mission, helping us change the world one person at a time, it makes a massive difference by you leaving a review. Thanks so much. I'll see you next week. And remember, dream it, believe it, go out and get it.